Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Justin here, and today I have another March 1st set. Now this is coming out in 2 weeks, but I saw it and I had to have it, and that's because I have the older night bus, but I wanted to compare it to the new one because I thought, why is LEGO making a new one already in the same exact scale? Now this set does come out on March 1st for $50, and it does have 499 pieces. That's about 100 more pieces than the old one. So what does that 100 pieces offer us? Does it do anything good, and is there a point, and did we need it? There are some differences you can see right off the bat when looking at these, but we're gonna go ahead and take a closer look at what makes them different and how they're the same. If you like the way that sounds, please like and subscribe to this video, and let's take a dive in. All right, so first up, we're gonna go ahead and move the minifigs out the way. We're gonna talk a little bit about the buses themselves. Now, height-wise, the old one maybe is a stud higher. You can kind of see the difference in the video, but it's so negligible that it really doesn't matter one stud or not. And I think that's going to be due to what is already very, very noticeable, and that's windows. These windows are much, much taller than these ones. Twice the size, actually, in height. Same width, though. But that gives this bus a little bit more ability to see on the inside, which is nice. But at the same time, I think the newer bus with the smaller windows, it just looks better. Now, when we're talking about height, again, one stud higher for the old one. When we're talking about length, though, you can see that the new one, when set side by side perfectly, is just a bit longer. So that's cool. Maybe that's where the 100 pieces go, because it certainly doesn't go towards the width. They are both, what is this, 2, 4, 6 studs wide. So other than that, size-wise, they're almost identical, besides the newer one being a tad bit longer. Another change, which I think is very interesting, is how do you get into the buses? How do you play with these buses? Old one is a hinged door, which gives you the opportunity to reach in there and play, but in order to get in the top, you have to take the top off and kind of mess around in there as well. But nonetheless, you do get the ability to hinge this door open, but that's it. You can't modularize this and take it off. The new one, on the other hand, comes off just like you would be building a modular building. You take it off and you set it into 3 parts. You can get on the inside, and when you're done, you just kind of place these about. The problem being, sometimes this chandelier will fall off depending how you're messing around with it, but it goes together really easily. And overall, I think in that regard, the newer one's better. It's just more for me. I do like the hinge. It makes it fun. It makes it to where you can see a lot of the bus when looking in. But other than that, I don't know. There's not a whole lot going on in there, whereas this one just feels like they can utilize more of the floor, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But overall, from the outside and just quick, simple things, I think the new bus has the edge for sure. So here's the 2 buses again. Again, this one's the old one, this one's the new one. Now, here's a closer look of that hinge if you haven't built this one or haven't seen it, whereas this newer bus, again, doesn't hinge, but it comes off in modulars at those black lines where they have the jumper plates. One of the omissions on the newer one that I don't particularly like is the omission of that guy in there, the little talking head. I don't know what his name is, but he plays a big part in the night bus and those scenes, and they don't give you that at all with the new one. I'm not sure why. They could have thrown that in. It cost them like a penny, so I don't know why they didn't do that. Other changes are making the night bus sign very flush. The changes in the grille, they had the license plate on this one, but I do think the detailing on the newer one is much better. The light for the front is on a flat brick on this one, where here it's more on a curved slope. Going around to the sides, the old one has a little space, a little window where the driver would sit, whereas the newer one has a much more open space, and you can kind of reach your finger in there and get in there, which is nice. Again, those windows, huge difference. You can see through and see much more into the old one, whereas compared to the new one. But I do think the new one looks much better. Another change here, you just get a window that looks all the way through, which is fine. And I was fine with that until I saw the new one. The new one had a sticker where they use it to indicate and suggest baggage being held up, which I really like. But the old one, since it comes with that hinge, didn't do that. Granted, this could have just been a brick and they could have put a sticker on that and it would have lined up perfectly in there. But they didn't choose to do that, and maybe they just didn't come up with that idea back then. Another change that I think the new one looks far superior on is this front window. That looks so much, I mean, older and worse, I think, than the new one. I think the new one, they use the windshield off of like trucks and stuff like that, and it just gives a much cleaner look, especially when going around to the front. Whereas this one, you can see a lot of gaps all the way in that area. So I think again, they did a much better job. Around the back, they use a lot more windows on the old one again, and this one uses just tiny bricks. But I think that this does look nice. I think the curves are nice rather than these kind of harsh edges. But nonetheless, I mean, they're very similar. They're both a night bus, and I just think that the new one, they did a fantastic job on, and I think it's definitely worth the extra $10 that it has on this one. I just don't think it's worth the $50 it costs. I'd hope that this would have been more $40, but I guess the Harry Potter license is getting more expensive these days. So yeah, that basically sums up the differences in these, because everything else is the same. I mean, the chandelier build is different, but it's still a chandelier. The beds that slide around, there's only one in the old one, whereas on the newer one, if you take this apart, they literally have a bed on every single floor. The chandelier drops down and you just slot that in. And then even on the first floor, there's another bed in there that can move. But yeah, nothing too crazy. And then this just slots right back on. So yeah, that basically sums up the differences between these two night buses. Yeah, there are some probably more minor differences, but especially with gapping on the older one, and they just found ways to make that better, so they took time. I don't know why it took so much time to make that better, and again, I don't know if we needed this already, but Lego decided that, hey, we're just going to do another night bus in minifig scale. So on the left here, you have the newer minifigs, and then you also have the side builds that come with it, which is the little case, but the bench with the lamp post, and then you also have Sirius Black back there. And on the right side, these are the older minifigs, but again, you do get the talking head that is goes inside of the night bus itself, but isn't counted as a minifig. So you have Harry Potter, of course, you have Ernie Prang, and then you have Stan Shunpike. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. And then on the left, you have those three same characters, but then you also have the Sleeping Witch, and that she would go in those beds that are kind of lying around. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look and compare one-to-one with the minifigs. So again, on the right-hand side, that's where you have the old Harry and the new Harry. The old one, it's a more plain jacket, but and it's used in a couple other sets, and then also the dirty one's used in a couple different sets. Here with the newer jacket, you have that nice printing with the flannel shirt under the jacket. So that's the main difference. But of course, it's Harry Potter with some tan legs. The back printing, there's a difference, but you know, it's not too much. So overall, the new Harry Potter to me, absolutely an upgrade. Then we have Ernie Prang. Minor differences with him. And basically all of the differences come in way of the torso. The tie is printed differently. The detailing on the vest on the left one, I think, is more. And then the same could be said for on the back. This one has more of a checkered pattern, whereas this one has, I don't know what that pattern's supposed to be. So there are differences. I don't think necessarily one of these is better than the other. I think it's just personal preference. But as far as the face, again, there's tiny, tiny differences in how his glasses are taped together, but nothing major. If you have one, I don't think you're going to buy the other set to get the other of this minifig because, I mean, it's not that much of a desired minifig, I'd say. Next up, we have Stan. I'll just call him Stan. I can't say his last name. Now, the old one, he looks angrier, and there's not a second face on either of them, but he looks a little more angry. He does have like the printing on the torso, which I think is really nice. But other than, and I mean, he has the acne going on, which is true to the movie. But other than that, he's pretty plain. This one, his printing on the torso is definitely different. He has more acne showing. He has a happier face. And then he comes with the little messenger bag. But overall, again, And then the hats are different. This one comes with the red band, whereas this one doesn't. So overall, I might give the older fig the nod because I like the printing on the torso, and I like that torso, and I like the hat difference. But both are really good. And again, it's not that big of a character that I think you're rushing out to buy one or the other. Next up is the Sleeping Witch. Now this one, she's clearly not a named character, but Sleeping Witch. The torso printing's good. The back printing's nice. She comes with the hat. She comes with the sleeping face. So if you want to make her sleeping, or maybe before she gets on the bus, or just riding around not sleeping, I think she's a fine minifig for the set, and I'm glad that we at least got something. If they're going to omit having the talking head, then it's at least they gave us something else. But then they also gave us Sirius Black. I mean, they've given us Sirius Black before, so they just kind of toss this in. But this just kind of finishes the scene where Sirius is kind of out lurking in the bushes before Harry knows that that's Sirius Black. And then we have the side build, which is incredibly simple, nothing special about it. But yeah, overall, I would give the nod to probably the newer ones. I don't know. There's not a ton of difference, and there's not a ton changed that's going on, but I'd give the nod to the newer lineup, and that's just because the printing on Harry and the Sleeping Witch. But other than that, I think I prefer him over this one. But yeah, nonetheless, the minifigs are close enough that if you have one, you're not rushing out to buy the other just for the minifigs. So there you have it. These two are definitely different. The minifigs alone are different, and that's mainly just due to the printing, not by the characters, besides the addition of the witch, but then the omission of the talking head, which I'd rather have the older one on that sense. But as far as the buses go, I think that the new one is overall better. Price per piece, with it being 50 versus 40, and about 100 piece difference, I think it makes sense because this was 40, 400 pieces, 50, 500 pieces essentially. So I think price per piece stayed exactly on point. So that's not really the complaint. I just think that maybe it was too soon. I don't know if we needed the exact same scale already. I would have loved for them to make the size of the London bus, that was the double-decker one that came out, that was pretty sizable. I wish they would have just added a floor to that and made that to the D2C set for maybe this year. And I think that would be amazing. Maybe not for other people, but in terms of Harry Potter, what are you going to make? That is a huge, large set if they're not doing Diagon Alley or things like that. They just gave us the Burrow last year. I think a gigantic night bus would have been perfect. They already have the platform for it to do 2 floors. So it would have been super, super easy. Maybe we'll get it one day, maybe not. But aside from the swinging door, to me, on the old one, I much prefer the modular style. I much prefer the newer look, the curved back, the better windows. Everything about the new one, I think, is certainly an upgrade. The minifigs are good again. And yeah, overall, one of these will go into the city. The other one's going to go up on the shelf, depending on which one I want to put where. But yeah, I think they're great. I think they're still both great sets. I do still like the old one, but I do prefer the new one now. So yeah, other than that, that's all I got. So thank you again for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it, and have a great week.